Here is some very disturbing news, and I have the feeling that especially you two are the audience who can feel my pain and understand it.
Okay.
So I legitimately checked on the internet the other day in preparation for this cast. However, this is still the best quality Sonic flossing GIF that I could find. And with this, hello. Fuck. And
Do you want to do a second take of that, mate?
with this, hello and welcome everybody to the AWKWARDCast, where A and Y and Keyframe. Wow, I can't even get the. Am I mirrored? Am I Keyframe? What about random dribble?
I want to see no. But
You would
before we
get
start
fired
this,
from radio so fast.
I want to see the acronym that our show's name is now, with that as the audio. AMI. Wait, I can't even. Am I and Keyframe? Wonder about random dribble.
In my defense, we are recording this at a very unusual time, especially for me personally. It's 1 a.m. at night, but there is a reason for this, and hopefully we will still agree in an hour and a half, whenever the show is over. We will hopefully still agree that it was a worthy cause to do this time change thing for a week, because we have, from down under, the probably most literate person that I know, which is saying sad things about either how well I know the people I know, or how illiterate the people I know are. God, I'm thinking. I should really stop.
You're the most illiterate person we know.
I probably am. But yeah, before I dig myself even deeper, welcome to the show, CloudCuckooCountry. How are you doing?
Hello.
Oh.
I'm doing. Oh, my phone just went off right then.
Oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Yes.
Something.
I
That
sh-
was awkward.
Oh, and welcome to the post show.
Already. And the show's over.
Yes, and let's get rid of Sonic. This is getting too much even for me, and this is saying
anyways,
something.
welcome, Cloud. Thank you for joining us this week. For the people who don't know you, who are you? What do you do? And why should people care?
I am the greatest book reviewer on the internet, and people should care because books are the greatest form of art that ever existed. Movies are trash, video games are trash, cartoons are trash. Read books. Just read books only, and I'm the best one. So I am the artist. And if you
to directly just after this very bold statement, to just figure out if we two will have a problem or not. What about audiobooks?
No, those don't count. It has to be words on a page.
Yeah,
if it's not words on a page, it's not art.
Sorry, dude.
Anything that has sound. This stream is artistically inferior because the transcript for this stream is going to be some high art. I guarantee you.
The auto-generated closed captioning is higher art than our actual words.
You know, Cloud. Cloud. It has been literal years since we directly spoke with each other. We had some chat interaction in between, but even that was sparse. But I just want to say, since audiobooks are taboo for you, friendship over. Sorry, but
he loves audiobooks so much he gifted me an audio gold membership for Christmas. So
it's true. But
also, I want to say,
you should have gotten her a book voucher, but the same value.
But since you just explained how inferior any form of media is that is not words written on paper, how about you tell us what we can find on your YouTube channel?
Right, so as the greatest book reviewer that's ever lived, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find a bunch of videos of me yammering on about books or some shit. So I recently started a series where I talk about LGBT fiction, so the gayest of books that I could find, and you can find some gay shit on my YouTube channel now. So you can find me talking about a book where a 17th century thief was a trans man the whole time, but nobody noticed. You can find me talking about a book that's basically ancient Greece, but it's super gay, which is the actual ancient Greece. So it's a more
I just
historically
wanted to say,
accurate
yeah.
version of Iliad.
Bunch of poly gay people just running amok doing philosophy.
Yes, that was basically Socrates' average weekend, wasn't it? You know, be gay, do philosophy. And the last one I did was like a Greenlandic novel. So I also have sort of an interest in kind of obscure stuff. I've talked about, you know, Daniel P. Mannix, who is a bit of an obscure author in the animal stories scene. And it's a bit of an injustice that he's obscure because he wrote The Fox and the Hound. And I swear to God, this is a pet peeve of mine that I will take with me to my grave.
Oh, no.
People who are fans of The Fox and the Hound movie, I have had people tell me The Fox and the Hound by Disney is one of their favorite movies of all time, and they've watched it like 10 times. I've mentioned the book, and they say to me, oh, I didn't know it was a book. And you actually watch the movie, at the title says The Fox and the Hound, based on the book by Daniel P. Mannix.
How do people not know that it was a book?
Ardent supporters did not read that little line underneath the title card in the movie. And now this author has been consigned to obscurity, and Disney has kind of absorbed authorship of what The Fox and the Hound is in the minds of the public. And that is an injustice. It is one of the biggest artists. Disney, I have a vendetta against that corporation. I will not rest until it is burned to the ground for that violation specifically.
I mean, at this point in time, new kids growing up nowadays will probably not know that Beauty and the Beast is based on a book and not an original Disney IP, Ariel, or rather The Little Mermaid.
Their schools are doing a shit job at teaching them classic literature, if that's the case.
I mean,
I learned about all these characters in first grade.
I mean, they will probably also think that Alice in Wonderland was written by Walt Disney.
Oh. I mean, some people do, but like generally speaking, Alice in Wonderland, because there's so many versions of it, it's not codified as like a Disney movie. It like The Fox and the Hound, like Mary Poppins.
It's true.
Yeah, it like codified as like this is one of the Disney canon, and no pays attention to any of the versions. Whereas Alice in Wonderland is, you know, because there's so many people who've done adaptations of that, people kind of know, yeah, there's the Disney adaptation and then there's all the other adaptations, and they're all adapting a book originally. But with The Fox and the Hound, there's only one movie version of that. It's the one that Disney made, and nobody has gone back to read the book, and nobody will, because all of the popular videos on YouTube acknowledging that the book exists are like, wow, this book has some messed up shit in it. It's got, you know, animals having sex at some point. It's got animals killing and eating each other. You know, it's a very sort of like documentary style novel. And they're like, this book is messed up. It's messed up. Don't read it.
I would hate for them to read some of the original fairy tales. They'll read the original Little Mermaid and be like, what? The mermaid just dies and turns into sea foam? This is messed up, man. This is messed up.
Yeah. No, it's also, like people act all like, you know, oh my God, this book has so much bad stuff in it, but it's no more intense than your average nature documentary. If you have watched any nature documentary, you have watched something as or more intense than The Fox and the Hound, the novel. But because, I don't know why, I think it's just because they're like, oh, it's a work of fiction where the animals mate at some point. They're like, oh my God, this has so much extreme content in it. You can't handle this NSFW.
Nature is NSFW, and that's how it has been. That's how it will be. And I just want to say, as a personal apology, so I pulled out a bunch of books to make me feel smart. And then the thing was, I was looking through them, and I found a DVD. So, and of course, it's every Beatle appearance on Ed Sullivan, but that's besides the point. I'm smart.
I will just let you know, Keyframe, that I don't even need to get up to have a sick book right here on my desk, and nobody will notice that it's actually a cookbook because I'm getting desperate because of the quarantine, and I consider starting to cook again, more than one dish.
But no, same. But no, anyways, So we know that we can look up the gay stuff on your YouTube, but how's your gay old life been? So what's been going on in your life
Been
recently?
considerably less gay since the quarantine, I'll tell you that much.
Oh boy, yeah. But what's been going on in your life?
What's been going on? I've been doing radio remotely. So there's a radio station that I volunteer at. And basically that's mainly my focus in life is creating radio content. So I am a regular contributor to their news and current affairs show. I've also appeared on their literature podcast because, of course, I have. The station, I can tell you, I'm not going to like give any more information out than, I probably am allowed to. But basically, we're operating the station entirely remotely now. So all of the contributors are at their homes. Because of social distancing, quarantine, we can't have everybody actually at the radio station together, potentially spreading the virus. So we're being responsible, and so I'm kind of I'm doing radio stories from home. I'm calling people up who are experts that I want to talk to, and I'm being like, hey, let's chat. Tell me about how coronavirus has affected this particular community. And I'm deliberately giving away not very many details because I don't know how closely linked I want my radio work with CloudCuckooCountry.
Fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, I make it a very
not to connect his work life with that.
I make it put an effort into not directly give too much hints about my actual employer. So
same. Yeah. People don't need to. You think I want to connect my career with this?
Wait, this internet thing literally is your career. Shush you.
The internet is very big. Shut up. Anyways, so yeah, you have your radio thing going on.
So I'm a regular radio presenter and everything's pre-recorded now. So I'm very glad that I bought like a decent mic setup when I did, because now I feel totally justified, being on my mic setup from home and doing stories like this and interviews like this. The only problem is that at the same time I started, for the first time in my life, I developed insomnia because of the quarantine. Not from like emotional stress. It's just that for whatever reason, I can't get to sleep a lot now. That's why I gave myself such a huge window, because I had no idea when I was even going to get to sleep last night. So
did you used to have a more active lifestyle with, I don't know, cycling to work or whatever you did, which was more active?
Yeah, I used to be way more active before quarantine. I went to gym on the regular. Go on runs and
Jim.
stuff. Yeah. Like I was actually quite an active person before quarantine hit, and now I'm just kind of,
probably where the insomnia comes from. Your body is has too much energy that usually gets used up and doesn't know what to do with it, so you stay up.
I'm gonna dread when quarantine's over and I have to get back to the energy levels to be able to go to gym regularly.
Oh, don't worry, Cloud. That won't be for a while. Sorry. The American has to be the cynic.
So the reason why that's relevant to the radio work is that I've been having to re-record a lot of my interview questions, because when I ask them, I'm so insomnia rattled, because interview questions on radio are something you have to come up with on the spot. Like you can have people have different interview styles, but I was told, and this works for me, don't ever write down questions for you to ask like word for word. Instead, just write down a bunch of notes so that you know what you're talking about, and then come up questions, because that allows you to be more flexible, because you have no idea what direction the interview's going to go.
Also,
and so
sounds like a more organic conversation you develop.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem with that is that when you couple having to come up with questions on the spot with insomnia, a question that is supposed to last 10 seconds can end up lasting 30 seconds with you constantly doubling back on whatever your sentence is. And then trying to re-explain everything. And then even when I crack open the audio and try and edit together a coherent question. I'm like, there is no way to make what I said coherent with any amount of splicing. I'm just going to have to record myself asking the question again and just not fuck it up that time. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
It's a barrel.
I lose confidence in myself as a journalist every time I listen to a question like that.
Shit.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Oh,
so I take that is your time in recent history, your life in recent history.
Yeah.
That's
what about
my
you?
life.
What about you, Mr. Wanting to cook because frozen dinners have taken over your life and you're starting to go fucking stir crazy?
It's very true. I feel so much relatable aspects from, right now, due to the late hour, my rhetoric, which is already infamous as it is even worse than usual, so I can relate to this being not in a good state of mind to ask questions and say sentences and hold a conversation.
Why I'm here.
That's a great starting point for hosting a podcast, isn't it? Also,
I will jump in at any time with incoherent ramblings. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's rambling.
Excellent.
For hours.
You are at the right show right now.
Ask me about Descartes.
About what?
Descartes, the French philosopher. That guy was a dick.
No,
that don't ask me about Descartes.
Okay,
You'll never
I
hit
won't.
the end of it.
I won't. No worries. No, but I also can very much relate to probably the only anecdote I have this week is from actually today, believe it or not. So we went to a double shopping trip. So we went first to a mall, which is usually like 6 bus stops away, but because we are avoiding public transportation, because we are
walking.
We are currently living in now people will accuse me of ripping it off because somebody actually Denim posted it earlier, I believe even in my Discord, but we are actually living in Schrödinger's corona infection or whatever. We have to. We have.
You are both infected and not infected at the same time.
Exactly. We have to behave like we have it, so we don't risk infecting somebody else. But at the same time, we have to behave as if we don't have it, so we don't catch it anywhere. So yeah, we I mean, it's mostly easy because we just don't leave the flat anymore. This is one. But when we have to go out, it's like, okay, when do we need to wash our hands? Okay, we need to wash them before leaving so that we do not infect anybody with our hypothetical corona. But once we return, we also have to wash our hands to wash all this hypothetical corona of other people off our hands so we don't get it. It's like, I mean, probably everybody knows this feeling unless you are already having symptoms or being tested or whatever. But yeah, that's our current situation. Because I had
I'll tell you what, fucking toilet paper is hard to come by now. And I swear to God, people are just taking it as a meme now. Like, you know, it like for whatever reason, somebody panicked and bought toilet paper, and a bunch of other people were like, "Oh dear God, we've got to buy toilet paper," because they have no idea what to do in a crisis situation, and so they saw other people buying toilet paper, and you know, ended up everyone just bought out the toilet paper. And that's like, you know, whatever, haha, it's funny. But I swear to God, it has been like 2 weeks since the toilet paper buyout in my area.
Okay.
And the supermarkets have restocked. Like, they have stocks of everything, but toilet paper keeps getting bought out over and over and over. And fucking, I swear to God, people are just taking it as a meme now. They're just taking it because, haha, nobody has any toilet paper.
Yeah, because by now the toilet paper situation has mostly relaxed over here. So we actually were just in one of our shopping trips a few weeks ago. We were just able to just buy a pack because it was in the shop, and we were like, we still have a few rolls, but with all the crazy people, let's buy it a little bit ahead of time. But we only bought one pack, and that's it, because this will last us for the next few months.
There's a supermarket a couple suburbs over where they have a sign out the front that says
No
we
toilet
have buyer restrictions on toilet paper, tissues, paper towels, and nappies. And I was like, you can't people can't consider like paper towels, tissues, and nappies to be toilet paper substitutes, can they?
Well, they can.
That's impractical at best. At that point, just hop into the shower.
And it will also kind of clog up the toilet. No, the news...
Actually, yes, shit.
Yeah, we just to say we have a thing here at the bigger store in our city where weirdly enough they don't allow people to bring that stuff back. So if they overfill, they won't allow it to bring them back. And I'm like, okay, I understand not wanting to give the stupid people refunds, but if they're giving back the stuff so other people can have it, at least put in the fucking sign, like
just scalp them. Just buy it back at a marked down price. Be like, oh yeah, we'll buy it back, but at like 10% of the price, so that they're like, okay, I have to cash them in because I wasted a bunch of money and I don't want it all to go to waste. But at the same time, punish them for hoarding.
Yes, please.
I think I talked about this last week, but we
find out a bunch of toilet paper with the intent to sell it to scalp. And they're like, oh shit, I just realized I'm committing price gouging and I need to return this product. Punish them!
Yes.
Yeah, I think last week I saw at the store there was this person who had first of all perishable food, which is already one layer of stupid in this bean dip of moronicy. Fucking just a cart full of cottage cheese. And then half their cart fell over on the floor. And because they stacked it up so bad, and they're just collecting it like a fucking hamster collecting seed, and it's just like, oh man, I am witnessing what I thought I would only see in movies, and these are the people who die at the end of them. Anyways, sorry.
But yeah, no problem.
It's like, you know all those American disaster movies where as soon as the zombie apocalypse hits, people start raiding supermarkets. It's like, those are not instructional. Like that's a bad thing.
That's a sign showing the human nature being bad.
Yeah.
The point of the movie is people are doing this and it's a bad thing because society is falling apart faster because of it. Like that's what the movie's thesis is on that front. It's not meant to be like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do in an apocalypse situation. Go out and raid the supermarkets.
Yeah, buffoons. But yeah, the current one is most of that stuff is getting restocked. No, the new one is flour, and apparently this is less of people. Flour, yeah, but it's less about people hoarding it, but they actually start baking more.
Oh,
so it's an actual legit flour shortage, at least temporarily.
Yeah, we have that here in California. There's a flour shortage because every time we go to the store, there's no flour. Mm-hmm. We have to go to the really expensive fucking store to get flour. This is really bad for someone who bakes as a hobby.
Yep.
I mean, maybe that's just better in general because baking bread is actually really easy. Like regular, just flour and nothing else bread. Yeah, but the bread that people buy and willingly eat from supermarkets is just trash, and it's bad for them. Like, I get particular breads from a bakery because I just can't stand supermarket bread.
But
supermarket bread is terrible.
Vital and fit. That's good, right?
I don't think those are regulated terms.
Yeah, I think there's I think if you look closely enough, there's a little asterisk next to both of them saying, I don't know.
Not even. I can tell you actually in Australia, this is an issue for vegans and other people who care about animal welfare, is that the term free range is not a regulated term in Australia. So you can put free-range eggs or free-range milk on your milk or eggs, and because the term free range is not regulated, they can come from the same factory farm that the regular milk and eggs are coming from, but you can just put free range on it
and ask for
there's
more
no
money.
regulation to stop you.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, to come back to the original point, why I talked about our today's shopping trip. So, to the big supermarket, which is like 6 bus stops away, walking, because first of all, nice weather, second of all, we barely get any exercise nowadays, and third of all, don't take public transportation because of Schrodinger's corona. Okay, then big supermarket, so we probably spend like an hour or at least an hour or something in the supermarket making our way through, still on our feet, still walking, then back from the supermarket with all the heavy backpacks.
I've done that trip before. That's not fun.
And then we did a second trip to the small supermarket because we were like, for the trip to the big supermarket, let's not get the heavy stuff like milk and meat and Bulmers. So we did a second trip, and when we returned, and I sat down for a bit, relaxed, stood back up, and I'm like, oh shit, I feel my legs. A fucking trip to the supermarket is now actual exercise for me that makes my muscles ache. The fuck?
Yeah, I did a bit of workout today, and let me tell you, I mean, I don't know, maybe I should wait to transition into my week, because, can I transition into my week?
I guess you can transition into my week, because, this was literally the highlight.
You already talked about your week. It's my week.
It's your week.
You said my week.
You did it your week.
Anyway, so hi guys. Welcome to the world of someone who already was at home 90% of the day, because I work from home. I'm going crazy. Here's the thing. I know I joke that I'm a fucking hermit, but I do go outside. I went for walks every day. At the park that's down the lane, that's down over the freeway, and I would go to the gym every day because I did weightlifting every day. I did intense barbell weightlifting. You know how bad it's fucking been that I haven't been able to do either for like 3 weeks now. I'm not okay. I can feel my muscles going into atrophy because the only body weight I have is myself, and I don't have a lot of weight on me. I have gotten to the point where I can lift past my body weight. I didn't do that just so I could get back here. But anyways.
Keyframe, let me just tell you. This is fine.
Try living in LA County during this apocalypse. It's not fine. Because I'm in one of the most quarantined fucking areas of the United States. Because our governor's not stupid. Because our state's under lockdown indefinitely. Because a bunch of states right now
what about
actually
Easter?
have
Wouldn't it be a beautiful timeline to be in church
I will
on
cough
Easter?
on you. I will cough on you. That's a threat now.
Just find a way over there. Airports are closed. Whatever. I'll swim across to Germany.
Oh, you know what? The resistance training would be great. Because a bunch of states actually have their quarantines being lifted very soon. Like April 19th, April 29th, because then when they put them in place, the end of April was the opening date. But California and New York are basically like, we'll be out of it when we're out of it. Just stay inside. And I'm like, cool. I hate to be a downer talking about the virus stuff because we hear it everywhere. I just feel really bad for multiple reasons, but the one I will state is my poor little cousin Steffi. She was like, when I lived in New York, she was the closest thing I had to like a little sister because she's 5 years younger than me. She's graduating from high school this year. Guess who's not having a graduation?
Oh.
And I feel so bad because she's the valedictorian. She was going to talk at the graduation because she's a smart fucking cookie. But she did get her college acceptance letter this week, so I'm proud of her. I am proud of my little Stephanie Carpenter. She's a good kid, and she actually is going into teaching art because of me. Yeah, the little positive memories I have is like she when she was little and I would be drawing, she would draw next to me. So I would be staring at the screen of what I'm drawing, and she would be looking down at my drawing and drawing what I'm drawing. It was like a game of telephone. But yeah, she was actually like, I want to get. Yeah, she was like, I want to get into drawing because of you, Chrissy, and everything, and now she is, and I'm so proud. But no, besides that, my week's been full of just trying to subside madness, and I've been doing that through cooking, because cooking is a hobby. I come from a very Italian family, so cooking is just kind of, I think we learn how to saute something before we learn how to walk. So I've been making a lot of I made
babies with their little cooking stoves, the little plastic ones.
My first words wasn't "mama," it was "Mamma Mia." Bury the body, keep the cannoli. I've been cooking carbonara and Mongolian noodles, and I baked bread and stuff for the house. My roommates love and hate me because I've been giving them so much carbs. But it's good food. And also this week, this podcast is the last podcast using this shitty ass webcam, because sometime this week, if Amazon Prime is willing, I will be the owner of a new webcam and a second monitor. I'm no longer a single monitor lady.
Welcome to the next level, pleb.
Just like my commitment to most things, I need two. I'm going to be having that because, well, when you have nothing to do, you have more money. When you have no cons to vend at and no con prep to do, you have more money. When you're not trying to visit a German, you have more money. So I'm using that to get equipment, because what else can I fucking do? And then I've been learning puppeteering, because Lauren gave me this puppet on my birthday, and this thing I think is haunted. I already had a picture on Twitter of this thing sitting upright in the chair because I threw it behind my shoulder and it landed perfectly like that. I've been finding this thing everywhere. So either Brett and Taylor have been moving this around to where I look, or this thing's alive.
It's alive.
Why did I caption that? I think I captioned that this is how I deal with not being able to visit ANY.
Yeah. Lockdown. It's like he's actually here.
You
forever, Keyframe.
You didn't even like that tweet. I'm ashamed. But no, this thing is I look around and it's on the edge of my bed staring at me, and I'm not the one moving it, I swear.
This is like this meme of this staring Christmas reindeer.
Yeah.
There is this post on Tumblr that every now and then goes around that apparently the little brother finds it super funny to put this. It's a standing up like this tall reindeer with super bulgy eyes, and apparently he finds it super funny to sneak and put it anywhere in the house. So whenever you round a corner, fuck, you wake up in the morning and it stands right next to your bed staring at you like, Wah!
I mean, that is my sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that with my Keyframe plushie because its eyes glow in the dark, and I've done that many of times to people who are in hotel rooms with me for cons. But no, just my week has been that abstaining madness and just working, and people would say, isn't that your life anyways? It's at least I had a break to go and lift some weights or run a mile, or know that I had something to look forward to, like selling stuff at a con or visiting Germany. I don't have anything right now. I'm going crazy. But with that craziness, I also watched Onwards 10 times on Disney Plus. Go watch it if you have Disney Plus. It still makes me cry. Also, don't watch it back to back with Coco if that movie also makes you cry, because then you don't fix yourself. Honestly, the thing was, I must have been a masochist, because the succinct movies I was watching on Disney Plus the other night was just all movies that make me cry, and I was very happy and unhappy to find out that Homeward Bound's not on there yet. It's not on there till May, because I think that would have just gotten me to the point of being balled up in my chair as like a living embodiment of tears.
Huh. Interesting.
But anyways,
because
speaking of tears,
Disney Plus arrived in Germany and Homeward Bound is on it.
Oh, fuck you. Wait, is it Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey or just The Incredible Journey?
Both. And Homeward Bound 2 as well.
No, those. Well, fine. You get the crying dog movie where it looks like a golden retriever can't get out of a hole and is dying.
Yeah,
you get that fun.
But instead, I watched Infinity Wars and Endgame again.
Oh, well, you know what? We have different priorities. I want to watch sad dogs. You want to watch sad Chris Pine. Anyways, speaking of medias, my media.
Your media. Speaking of media, crying and whatever. Here you go.
Great.
The word future is cut off. That's.
Me and Max got done watching Steven Universe Future. This week during our TV time. We also started watching Owl House. It's good. Yeah. Steven Universe Future, aka remember all those fun adventures from the first show? Time to make you feel bad for liking them in the best way possible. No, this show was. I know a lot of people were worried when Steven Universe Future was coming out because they were like, why? Does the show need more?
I mean, this was my reaction when I heard about the movie, and this was even before Future.
Yeah.
This was my reaction when I heard about the show. Why?
But no, Steven Universe Future is fantastic. I actually think, looking back, I enjoy it more than the original show. And I think people who... I think that this is just a good standalone show, and obviously you would like it more with the original show. But
I'm not sure if you could really watch it without knowing the original show.
Lauren's actually watching Steven Universe Future without seeing the original show, and she loves Steven Universe Future now.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but
would not have guessed so.
She started with the movie, but no, the thing. As someone who suffers a lot of the mental illness that Steven has in this show, I wished I had a show like Steven Universe Future when I was growing up, when I was Steven's age. Because they very clearly talk about childhood trauma and saying, like, you know, how helpless you feel if you don't have a support group. They very, very accurately show disassociation through like the visual medium, and it's great. And how they handled I'm not going to talk about the finale in detail because, well, spoilers, but how they handle the final conflict. I know some people complain because it's a finale, it should be big fight and all that stuff, but it works. It fits the narrative and rhetoric of the show, and it felt good to see how it transpired. It has a lot of heart to it. There were multiple moments in this run where I just kind of sat there like, holy shit. And where I think like the episode where he's in the hospital, me and Max watched when he was over visiting, and I was just we were walking to a ramen place, I think, and I was just still thinking about it like,
I mean, I also dare to say without spoilers that this particular episode and stuff hit very close to home for you personally, which makes an already impactful show like even more so.
Oh yeah, like take what I say with a grain of salt, because this show hit a lot of those no feels of how dare you look into my life like that and then rip open some band-aids that were firmly on. But like it's just good. It is just good. I recommend people watch it. For people who don't enjoy Steven Universe, you're not going to enjoy it. I feel like that's without saying about a sequel series, an epilogue series. Like if you don't If you didn't like the original one, why are you watching Future?
Then again, there is a tone shift in Future. I could imagine, as you
It
said,
very much is a
as you
tonal
said
shift.
before, you enjoyed Future more than original show. I could even imagine people enjoying Future who did not enjoy the original show because of the tone shift.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, also for people who complained about the off-modelness from the original series, they fixed that in this show in spades. Holy crap. And I guess the only other thing, if you enjoyed the music in Steven Universe, they don't have a lot of songs in this sequel show. They have a few, and they're good. But the score is definitely something. Like, the instrumental music is amazing, especially when they want to be creepy and unnerving. They do that way too fucking well. Like, there's like the scene where Steven disassociates. You'll know it when it happens. Just him kind of staring off into his phone and the music in the background drowning other people's voices and stuff. Like, it was just kind of like a, whew, I didn't like that. But I really recommend people watch it. Steven Universe itself is a very special show to me. I count it as one of my modern inspirations for wanting to work in the animation industry. It's also one of the first shows that I started watching each new episode with this guy down here. So it was you, Max, you. Yeah, you. I think Steven Universe was like the first time I got someone into a show. People have always gotten me into shows. Then I got someone else into it. Yeah, because didn't you live stream the first 2 seasons or the first season of us watching it, and then you had a fight with Andy because Andy kept saying pearls like Twilight, and you were like, stop associating characters with ponies.
Oh, this sounds like something I would do. Yes.
Yes, but
there's
yeah,
more
please.
in the universe. Don't bring everything back to this one show.
I hit a trigger button somewhere.
I think that's what I was saying like over and over again back in 2013.
But yeah, I really liked it. I think other people will, and especially I think it's very important in this age where we're starting to talk more openly about mental problems and mental health. Having something like this is a great step forward in having that in the media and normalizing it in a way that's not romanticizing it. They do not romanticize mental health, which some things really bad.
They might romanticize mental health, but not mental health issues.
They romanticize getting better and going to a therapist. Like they you know, but like. Well, yeah.
I mean, even that's a little bit dangerous because it's like people can run the risk of thinking, "Oh, this therapy isn't working. Maybe there's just something irreparably wrong with me."
Oh yeah, no.
Like I'm actually
being hyperbolic with what I'm saying. Like the way they romanticize mental health is taking the active effort to get better. Right. That's what I mean.
Sure. I just kind of like because this discussion surrounds an author who I'm very familiar with. If you know John Green, this is not the media I'm bringing to the table, by the way, but John Green, you know. Fault in Our Stars. I almost said authorship down for some reason, which is some weird mesh of watership down and just authorship in general. I don't know why I said that. Totals All the Way Down. That's the book I'm thinking of. And Looking for Alaska. So a lot of his work, people have accused him of romanticizing trauma. And he's always clapped back with like, how have I romanticized trauma? Because there's romance and trauma in the book. And it's like, you know, I don't really mix those two things. I don't really like, you know, try and show trauma and mental health issues as this cool thing to have. So I don't get why you would accuse me of that. Is it just because they're teenagers and they have romance and also mental health issues? And it's like, you know, teenagers can have romance and mental health issues. Everyone can. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really recommend people watch it. I know some people can put their noses up into the air with Steven Universe a lot because of its fan base, which I get you, man. I've been in so many fandoms. I get you. We're all garbage, but don't blame the show for people being dumbasses, because usually the dumbass things they do are the exact opposite of what the show says to do. But yeah, that's my media.
Yeah, but maybe to, unless you have done this already, quote a statement you said after we finished it was that this finale or this ending of Steven Universe Future was a more satisfying and conclusive or
oh yeah, I think this is a better ending than this is a better ending than what the original series ending was with Change Your Mind. Or the movie, because each of them have a conclusiveness that I think when you look at all three of them together makes a good ending. Like you have the narrative thing of the war and the war and the whole arc with fighting the diamonds is done with Change Your Mind. That external conflict is done. The second, the movie has the external conflict of Spinel because it's relatively like an OVA movie with impact into future. It's an OVA in one hand, and the other hand, kind of a pilot for Steven Universe Future, like how Disney cartoons had like a movie as their pilot, and that just again an external conflict. Steven Universe Future is very much ending the show with an internal conflict, which was always side stories. It was never Steven's internal conflict, and that's what Future has. Steven Universe is the end of actual Steven Universe, because the other two things were never about Steven. It was about Steven fixing something else. Yeah. Which given a show that has either been heralded or criticized for coming exclusively from Steven's point of view, which they address in this show, I think it's a very interesting way to end it, because we have so many shows that are action adventure and stuff that have these protagonists, but they never really have a conclusion for what the protagonist went through. And it goes into a reality that if a kid goes through as much shit as Steven does, and they make a point of pointing out some of the more season one-y adventures actually being kind of traumatic when you think about it, it will have an effect, and they do it in a very tasteful way. Because that was the thing I was scared about when they really started going into the mental illness side. I was like, are they going to be tasteful about it? And they did, and I am very proud of that. So thank you, Cartoon Network. You may have fucked over the schedule a million times over its run, but you let this show have its ending. Thank you. Do not make an HBO Go show.
But yeah,
just waiting on Steven Universe: The Legend of Korra.
Oh God, no, Nora! It's Steven's son. It's Steven's kid that somehow got the gem, even though that wouldn't make sense. Anyways,
yeah, they'll contrive a reason for it to happen. They'll just be like, "Oh, we need the money. Let's just invent a reason for the show to continue."
It's not actually made by Rebecca Sugar. It's made by someone else, like how they did Powerpuff Girls.
But yeah, Cloud, let's I guess move on to your media, and then depending on how late it is after you are done, we see how much I have left to talk about mine.
Right. Well, I was thinking that I could, pick one of my high and mighty artsy books about like history or some shit. But I actually think if I'm gonna come on this show and talk about books, I might as well do something that everyone's heard of and everyone knows, and I might as well aim big if I'm gonna try and take down something. I'm gonna pick the entire Harry Potter book series.
Yeah!
Is trash. It is absolute trash. I loved it when I was a teenager, but you know what? Even back then, there was a problem with the series that I felt. And I can tell you exactly what it is. Book 1 is like 200 and something pages. Book 5 is like over 700. I haven't checked recently, but there is a shift in style in the middle of the series, right? Like book 4
and onwards.
Yeah, book 4 is like the last Harry Potter book where it was exclusively about adventures at school. And like the Triwizard Tournament is a little bit like whatever, take it or leave it. But like it is very much still like it's a school event. This is the school thing that we care about, and there's a mystery with Voldemort on the side. That was the Harry Potter series. And then after 4, suddenly, instead of having a mystery of the book, mystery of the year that the characters solve throughout the entire novel, suddenly there's this tonal shift to we need it to be a bit more of a fantasy epic. And suddenly you've got, like, you know, prophecies are introduced. You've got this ongoing conflict between Harry and a resurrected Voldemort. And it's so different from the first few books in the series that it actually causes a bit of, like, jarring dissonance in some parts. And my quintessential example of this is if you go back to book 1, that book was very much just children's adventures in high school. Like, if there was any series that I would have related Harry Potter to only reading book 1, the first one that would come to mind is Deltora Quest, because Deltora Quest is set in this sort of fairy tale kind of fantasy universe that doesn't obey by normal universe rules. In the first book, or actually, I forget if this is in the first or if this is later on there, but there is literally a guardian on a bridge that is guarding the land of that belongs to, like, this sort of witch character. I think it's been a long time since I've read Deltora Quest, but it's a very like, you know, children's fairy tale trope of the guardian at the bridge who says, if you answer me a riddle, I will let you pass, but if you don't answer me this riddle, if you answer this incorrectly, I will kill you and eat you. You know, that whole shebang.
Sounds
it's very
reasonable.
fairy tale-esque. And if you think about it entirely logistically, you'd be like, why is this a security system for, you know, a land that this person doesn't want people venturing into? You know, why not just keep everyone out? Why let people through if they can pass a riddle? You know, ding. And then, you know, you get the CinemaSins guy going like, oh, this isn't logical. And that's very much the style that Harry Potter #1 was in. Like, you know, it was very whimsical. Harry gets his letter via owl delivery. You know, they run through a wall conspicuously in the middle of King's Cross Station that muggles just don't see them running through. And then that delivers them magically to platform 9 3/4. Like, this kind of stuff is children's fairy tale whimsy. And the quintessential example of something in book 1 that doesn't make sense in the series as a whole is when they go to retrieve the Philosopher's Stone and they descend through the trapdoor. They have the first trapdoor being guarded literally just by a huge monster, you know, Fluffy the three-headed dog. Then they drop down into the, you know, that plant that I always forget the name of, and then that ends up being another challenge for them to solve in some novel way. And then they go through a room, and I believe the next one is the keys, the flying keys that you have to catch with a broom.
Chessboard.
Yeah, then the chessboard and so on. And my whole thing is that if Voldemort is such a threat, like he is made out in the last 3 books, if he's such an existential threat to the world of wizards, why would you have a security system with solutions built into it that anyone can solve? Like, here's how you stop Voldemort from getting the Philosopher's Stone. That room with the keys, get the correct key and just drop it in a volcano somewhere. No more Voldemort gets the Philosopher's Stone and then, you know, Nicholas Flanell or whoever can just, you know, magic it back or whatever to get through the door or something. Like, if you can't get through the door with normal magic, if you can only get through it by solving the room's puzzle and getting this key and putting it in the door, why have it in the room if Voldemort is such the threat that he is? Like, why have a security system with solutions built into it? That's the kind of questions that you ask with the series as a whole, because after about book 4 and onwards, you start to learn about the broader wizarding world, and you start learning that, oh, it's actually very bureaucratic. It's actually a lot like our own world. There's a lot of direct parallels to the way our own world works. And Voldemort is not just this, you know, mustache twirling dark wizard. He's actually like magical Hitler, and he has this plan to genocide all of the muggles and the mudbloods and so on, and create a caste society where, you know, you've got the magic folk on top and then the undeserving underneath them as slaves and property. And at that point, when I was reading the last books, I was like, this is so like stylistic, not just tonally. Like, I get escalating the tone, But this is so stylistically different. It demands a lot more like logical efficacy that if you go back to the original novels and you look at their childlike whimsy, suddenly a lot of that stuff just doesn't make sense in the context of the series anymore. Like if the series had just stuck with, children's adventures at school where they had whimsy and they had stuff that doesn't make sense and they had, these, logic puzzles that are meant to be, for the benefit of the child reader to be like, these are puzzles maybe I could solve. Like that was one of the big things about Del Toro Quest is that when the book presented you with a puzzle, it actually like drew an illustration of what the puzzle was and gave the child reader a chance to solve it. And then they would read the character giving the solution on the next page, and they'd go like, oh, okay, I could have solved that, or I did solve that, depending on how smart of a child you're talking about. And so Harry Potter, more than any other series, illustrates for me a problem that I have a lot with certain things that start out small and get bigger, in that the small, like really, simple, whimsical stuff that not supposed to take seriously in the first 3 books suddenly has this huge jarring juxtaposition with the grand epic fantasy style of the last 3 books. And I really, really don't think that the first 3 books were set up in a way to support the last 3 books as style change. Like I can imagine if it was planned from the beginning that you could make that shift, but I don't think J.K. Rowling, in an interview, she said that she had the entire series planned out, from the start. But I don't believe that she had the entire series' style planned out from the start.
Or
I don't
details.
I don't think that she planned to switch into an epic fantasy style from a childlike whimsy style. Like I think that part might have been, a little bit, come up with as she was writing the series. And, fair enough, she couldn't anticipate how big the novel was going to blow up, or, and writing a long series like Harry Potter is, a task in and of itself. But I just feel like, it should have remained, if not true to its tone, because I get escalating the tone as the series goes on, but it should have had some kind of stylistic coherence going from novel to novel, that if it was going to make a change like that, the change would have been more like, would have helped the series gel together more. I mean, because otherwise, yeah.
One strong indicator working in favor of the assumption you're making here is, like, if you look at the back covers of the books, like if you see the first one, which is relatively tiny, and how, especially with up to the 5th one, they grow in length. You can tell that she got carried away in her world and started to just escalate it all. So that all of this and how this the thickness of the books developed was planned from the beginning. I don't buy it either.
Yeah, there's a reason that I kind of fell off the books.
Yeah. I will tell you, there's actually an old newspaper review of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and I, for the life of me, am so just disappointed in myself that I didn't save this somewhere. I didn't cut it out and just store it in a binder somewhere, because there was a newspaper review that kind of hit the nail on the head. And it said that, the scene in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, this is in the book as well as the movie, where, Mrs. Weasley calls Bellatrix Lestrange a bitch. She's, Lestrange attacks her daughter and she's like, "Not my daughter, you bitch." And yeah. the reviewer made the point that, that J.K. Rowling seemed to want her, children's book series to veer into more adult territory, but that this was probably one of the clumsiest ways she could have done that. Book 7 hits and suddenly, because it's like most of the books are reasonably lighthearted. And then at the end of book 6, you've got an adventure with Dumbledore. And he goes and drinks from this fountain of weird water that you don't know what it is. And he starts going like, "Oh, I'm suffering. No, help me," and crying out in pain.
And zombies are crawling up out of the water.
I mean, that's less of a thing in the book because, it's a non-visual medium. It looks scarier in the movie. But the point is that at the end of it, Dumbledore is literally crying out, "Kill me, I can't stand it." And like, that's dark. And then he dies. Like, he straight up is just like ganked by Snape. And then book 7 is like characters are dropping dead like flies left, right, and center. And then it's like, what happened to childlike whimsy? In book 1, one person dies, and it's Professor Quirrell, and he's the bad guy at the end.
Do I have to put on spoilers at some point?
How old are these books, Max? I mean,
listen, if you don't know the Harry Potter series by now, it's probably not worth going and reading them anyway. And then in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, I don't think nobody dies during the main story. The only person who dies, is I believe Moaning Myrtle, but then she's a ghost.
She already has died ages ago, and the shadow version of Tom.
Yeah, and the whole thing about the book about that story is people are getting petrified, but it's only a matter of time before somebody dies. We have to stop it. We have to stop this mustache twirling villain before he kills one person. And it's like, of course, because it's a children's book. And then Harry Potter 3, there's barely even the threat of death in there. It's just kind of like near the end, Lupin turns into a werewolf, and it's like, okay, so he's a threat, but then, Sirius is there to save the day. And then the threat near the end that they have to stop is like, they reckon that Sirius's soul is going to get sucked out by the Dementors, but it's not even like, death at that point. And, it's so vague what that actually entails that it's just kind of left up to your own imagination how bad that is. And then you get to book 7 and like half the cast dies. And it's like, what happened?
I mean, even
someone decided to do the red wedding. Then,
but here's also a bummer. Most of the deaths, or many of the deaths in the 7th book, are off screen.
Oh yeah,
they are happy. I mean, even the final battle, it's like, oh, by the way, this and this and this person died. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
But J.K. Rowling didn't have the stones to have Harry Potter actually cast the Avada Kedavra spell to kill Voldemort. Like, I thought that was going to be a thing. I thought that it was going to be like,
Expelliarmus.
They were going to make a point about how, like, but they're unforgivable curses. How could you use them? And then they were going to be like, that they were going to have like this discussion about like maybe there are certain situations that are so dire that you have to use them, and in those cases you're justified, like when you're up against a tyrant, an absolute tyrant who is going to kill lots of people and sort of collapse society and restructure it into a fascist dictatorship. Maybe at that point you should be able to justifiably use these unforgivable curses.
But
no, in Expelliarmus, there's some bullshit reasoning around the Elder Wand is actually Harry's, and then Voldemort's spell backfires and he kills himself, and Harry's, there's no moral ground. It's like the ending of Avatar all over again. It's like they brought up this whole thing.
But
I was
Cloud,
thinking about that, actually.
But
it's like
also Cloud.
Like, you might have to kill the Fire Lord because he's so evil that he just cannot be reasoned with. And Aang's just like, nah, I have spirit bending powers now.
I mean,
no, but
at least
here's
you can
the thing, Cloud. You're expecting JK to be able to write nuanced and not black and white.
She has the subtlety of a bright red brick wall.
I was a teenager at the time. I had very little tastes.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to say, at least with Avatar, you can make the argument that given how much the Fire Lord connected himself to his power, like bending powers, not being able to firebend is a fate worse than death. But even then, still stupid.
It is still bad. And I would say that, like you say, J.K. Rowling, like you're knocking her writing abilities. She's got a little bit of skill. Like, I'll give her some credit where credit is due. Her characters from a perspective of a children's series where everything has to be kind of simple, her characters are spot on. Love it. And I also love the little pun names that she comes up. Well, not pun, but like little what do you call it? Like when something has like the same letter twice.
Alliteration.
Alliteration, yeah. Her alliterative names, like, Ron Weasley, Luna Lovegood, Severus Snape. I loved all those little fun character names. Like, I reckon half the reason her characters are as memorable as they are is because she just names them these absolutely like fun names to say.
She's good at writing fun. And then she's like, you know what? I'm not going to write fun. I'm tired of fun.
This is a serious fantasy epic. This has transitioned into a book for adults, damn it.
Anyways.
But credit where credit is due. There's certain like types of symbolism that she was actually really good at. So for like the example that I'll give is Voldemort's name. So this is actually one of the few symbols that was intact for the entire series. In book 1, everyone like it's introduced that nobody wants to say his name. And then, Hagrid says his name kind of in a whisper, it's like, his name is Voldemort. But he can't say it too loudly. And it's kind of like, this man is like such a myth, such a legend that people, the name itself is scary. And this was before book 7, where they actually put some kind of magical hex on the name to locate you. Like it was literally just a name, no magic attached whatsoever. And people were afraid to say it just because the person the name referred to was such a insanely powerful and dangerous and evil person. And then as the series goes on, you find a lot of the characters as they confront more of Voldemort's schemes and as they learn more about him and as they come to terms with the fact that they are going to have to confront him, they start using the name Voldemort. And then there's Harry and Dumbledore, who are able to see Voldemort for what he really is. They learn his real name, Tom Riddle, and they start just referring to him as Tom. They just call him Tom. And it's this really powerful symbol of, you can tell like what step of the journey some characters are on just by how they refer to, by what name they refer to Voldemort as. If they refuse to say his name, you know that they're absolutely scared shitless. They have bought into the myth that Voldemort is the greatest wizard of all time. If they say Voldemort, then they've bought into then they've discarded that myth, but they're still holding on to the myth that, Voldemort is, the great wizard, even though they're like, he must be stopped. We must confront this person, use his name, call him what he is. And then, Dumbledore and Harry can see past that whole facade, and they can see there's a man behind this myth, and that man is as much of a human as there anyone else, and they call him Tom, and that's a symbol that I think is actually really good, and it remains intact for the whole series. A symbol that doesn't remain intact for the whole series is the Patronus. Like the Patronus starts out as being like your inner light, right? It's your guardian animal, your guardian spirit. It protects you from the
last book, it can be used to send messages.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a glorified messaging app.
That wasn't even in the last book. That was in book 6. At some point, like Harry in book 6, he there was a wedding, but also in book 6, Harry gets his nose stomped in by Malfoy on the train, and then he gets brought off the train late by Tonks, and then Tonks sends a message with her Patronus, and I believe that's the first instance of a Patronus sending a message.
Probably.
And I'm like,
what's
so
your Patronus? WhatsApp or Telegram?
But to wrap up the entire topic of Harry Potter, final words.
Final words?
Who should read it? Who should not?
Don't
People
read
with
it.
taste.
Don't read the books. You will be so disappointed by the end.
Exactly. As Cloud in the very beginning of this podcast says, go and watch the movies instead because they are so superior.
Don't! How dare you! Just stay away from the series.
Max, are you drinking out of the Slytherin glass today?
No, I'm
so
not.
many better books that you can read. Just ask me for book recommendations.
You're right. You know what? He's right.
Read Pantomime by Laura Lamb.
Instead of reading the books or watching the movie, go see a recording of Harry Potter, The Cursed Child.
No! Stop it!
I mean, then of course we have the.
This is not what I signed up for.
Then again, we have
I
this.
don't want to get any more people into Harry Potter.
Then again, there are those fantastic prequel movies about fantastic.
No, those are the worst.
I know.
Those are even worse.
The second one doesn't even have to do anything with animals anymore.
Cloud, dearie, have you ever heard of the Streisand effect? When you tell people not to check something out, they are going to do it more in droves.
But it's not even so bad. It's good. It's not like The Room. It's just bad.
This is the most genuine despair I've heard this bird in. Oh my god.
The Crimes of Grindelwald. I watched that because I thought that Fantastic Beasts was bad, but kind of fun. The Crimes of Grindelwald, we got to the third act. I was like, how did we even get here? Like, what happened in the last two acts? What sequence of events took us to the third act? That movie is shot and structured so badly. I did not know how we got to the third act. I was sitting in the theater going like, what led us here? And also that scene where Dumbledore is like staring into the mirror of Erised and it's showing him Grindelwald and fucking like that's the most gay we get out of this movie. Like, thanks, JK.
Oh my god. Anyways, we have castrated so much time away from Max's media. So,
but there
Max.
is still always enough time to bring out a word to this week's sponsor, Ferret Paw. Yay!
Representation.
Exactly. I mean, since we are all furry, I have the furry glass out.
Nice. But
media.
what can you quickly say about your media? Because man, we're going into time.
We are going into time. So my media, due to the fact that I was not able to finish my current audiobook series, probably for the better. Cloud would have probably been angry with me again, like the one time I asked him to read the first chapter of my fan fiction.
Oh, we don't need to go into that memory. Anyway, so Bunraku.
Yeah, Banraku. First of all, to explain the name, it comes from this Japanese theater with the puppets. And why is a movie, which does not really look like a puppeteer movie, called this? Because it's a highly stylized movie, as you will see momentarily with the trailer. At the end of the day, it's mostly just an action movie without too creative of an idea. You have those protagonists who are both great martial artists. You have a little bit of world building going on, and it is established early on that there are no guns. So that is their excuse why it has to be martial arts all the way. And yeah, they have even a few better known faces and names attached to it, like Ron Perlman. I mean, you find Ron in a lot of indie movies. But yeah, as you see, this entire world is like super stylized with the coloration, with the background that look like they are made out of paper, especially the sky. If there's a sky visible, it looks like made out of paper crafts.
And it's one of these movies.
Yes, so it's a highly stylized martial arts movie at the end of the day. Story, once again, nothing really to write home about. It's like, oh, there are evil dudes and there are good dudes, and they fist punch their way all the way through, and a little bit of sword swinging goes on, and axe throwing, as we just saw. But yeah, it's really more movie to if you want to see an action movie and are into stylized approach, and you have like John Hartnett, who is like this super cowboy character. Yeah, Woody Harrelson is just there. Then you have this guy who is a samurai. It's an experience. So I would say if you get your hands on it, check it out. It's an interesting watch. It's not where I would like say, wow, movie of the century. It's actually one that is a lot under the radar, living a lot under the radar. So I would not be surprised if you haven't heard of it. But if you are into those kind of punchy action movies, go for it. I mean, you are spending, I don't know how long is it, 1.5 hours or so of your time, and it's nothing that I regret to have watched. So.
Oh man. All I can think of when I watch that, though, is thinking of Woolen Warriors, a really bad localization of one of these Bunraku puppet movies. Not going to go into it, but oh my god, one podcast I will, because that's an experience. Mm-hmm. That is tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills level of the Americans should not touch certain things. But yeah, now it's time to go into questions, the Q&A. Did we get any on Twitter?
I don't think so. Didn't see anything earlier.
Cool.
So it's all yours.
Yeah, good thing we didn't get a lot, because oh boy, I'm very hungry. So, Jinxing It 101 asks, how many salt and pepper shakers are too many to have? Never enough. You will, no matter what, if you're in the apocalypse, you will always need salt and pepper. How else are you going to season the bodies of the people you murdered for sustenance?
Just buy out the salt and pepper from all the supermarkets.
Yeah, it's salt and panic buying.
Get it out from under the noses of people who bought all of the toilet paper rolls.
Yeah, so this is your revenge.
Just have those people are going to be outside their houses spooking, being like, come over here, $10 a roll, $10 a roll. And you can just walk up to them and be like, hey, look at what I got. All the salt and pepper. Do you want some? It's $20.
Enjoy your unseasoned chicken breast.
Yeah, but I mean, I just have the boring answer to offer, like, as many as you have sets of for dining plates and stuff. So that you can have a little one in front of everybody. Or if you run a restaurant, as many as you have tables, plus a few in reserve.
Boring. Hotel clerk answer, boring. Okay, so another one from Ceiling Tiles. What's a game you play? What's a one-player game? So solo. When you get bored and there's nothing to do. So what's your favorite solo game? Most of my games I do play by myself.
Are we talking video games or are we talking anything else?
Video games.
Is it necessarily? Because it's just, what games do you play by yourself?
What game do you play by yourself that's not a video game?
Solitaire.
With an actual deck of cards.
Yeah, totally.
Fine.
Puzzles.
Fine. We'll include. I don't count puzzles as a game.
I don't know. They come in a box and they're on the same cupboard where my board games are.
I call it a mental exercise. I'm an intellectual. No, fine. We'll include that.
Oh yeah, he actually explicitly means not video games. What do you play when you don't have video games?
You should have put that in your question, Odie. You specify. Damn. What do I do now? I'm boring.
What games? Why does it have to be games?
Or TV or books?
I assume he means.
I mean,
when I'm bored and there's nothing to do, I draw. That's not a game, though.
So it's.
I mean, I do read books. I'll give you the book I'm reading now, actually. So here's Pantomime by Laura Lamb, and I recommend it because it's about a genderqueer intersex trapeze artist. It's set in a fantasy universe where there used to be a debutante, but they got sick of it, and so they ran away to join the circus. That's the premise. Okay. And if you're not sold on the premise alone, I have nothing else to say to you.
I mean, that's an amazing elevator pitch there. But yeah, okay, I guess puzzles. I guess puzzles, because that's the only thing that I imagine that can have the concept of game.
Are you fucking kidding me? Now you stole my answer. Now I'm literally out of
Okay,
answers.
you can have the same answer. It's nothing to be ashamed about, mister.
I mean, Odie counts counting ceiling tiles as his answer. So
I don't have tiles. I have popcorn ceilings. But fine.
Ceiling.
I don't. What do I do? I don't really think I have. Wow, I've really grown so dependent on those screens in front of me.
It was, yeah, it's hard because all I think about, the first thing that came to my mind was video games. So there you have book, puzzles, and sadness. So
Hello, darkness,
okay,
my old friend.
from Denim Ninjet, you are in charge of putting together an indie film project. You manage to put together a shoestring budget for it. Then one day you find an investor willing to give you $100,000, but you have to put the whole sum towards only one aspect of the project: casting, costumes, visual effects, music, or stunts. What do you choose, and what kind of film will you be making? This is a thing of gauging your expectations.
Yeah, it's just want to say this last question in the parenthesis is really like, yeah, depending on what film I'm making, it would highly depend where I put the extra money.
Audio, 100%.
So
just one microphone.
If I have a shoestring budget for everything else, I guarantee you that it is definitely possible to put together decent acting, decent writing, decent cinematography on a shoestring budget, even if you have a shit camera. But if somebody gives me a whole bunch of money, the first thing that is getting injected into is audio, because I don't want my film sounding like shit.
I agree.
Is a lot of work.
I agree. I guess I would put mine into sound. But does sound include everything that sound implies? Because that's the thing. Sound is an entire department.
Sound is isn't even an option in the question.
Yeah, but
just say
okay.
It's casting.
Evidently, this question was asked by somebody who doesn't know what film production is.
But okay, so casting, costumes,
so
visual effects, music, or stunts. We have to choose from those.
From those, what were the options again?
Casting, costumes, visual effects, music, or stunts.
So apparently the technological stuff is already good. Apparently they have good cameras and microphones. So
what is the flair, I guess, that you get to add? I guess I would go with I would go with music.
Yeah, let's go with that. Because the visual effects, it's very easy to make just a story set in reality and not bother with fancy visual effects. Just use normal ones.
I've watched enough horror movies from the 1970s to know how to do good practical effects. By the way, I'm making a horror movie. I will just fill condoms with raw meat and fake blood, and then you know what? I got some good disembowelment right there.
But looking at it, okay, $100,000 for $100,000. If you already have some cast put together because that's the premise of the question. So you already kind of have a cast.
But it's kind of like if they gave you a huge injection of money, you'd be able to get big time actors.
$100,000,
you can pay union actors basically.
Maybe that. So, but I have the feeling like either I have found some actors with the budget already, but for $100,000, I will not be able to really pimp the cast. Visual effects and stunts very dependent on the type of movie, which brings us back though.
Film.
I mean, if it would be an action film, I would probably rather invest in stunts than in visual effects because they can
just make it a fighting movie. Make it bare fisticuffs.
Basically like what was it? Bunraku.
Bakugo. But.
Probably, I might go for something like maybe costumes because once again, casting you will not get pimped with only 100,000 from whatever level you already have. I would probably go for costume and props maybe because there you can actually do some leaps with this amount of money.
What kind of film are you making? That was the second part.
An artsy black and white movie about the meaning of life.
So you have no idea.
You picked the most generic artsy topic there is.
We'll be seeing it as an Oscar nom very soon.
And also, as anybody who knows me knows, this is so far away from me.
No, yeah, you would be playing every character.
Oh, that's why we don't need more casting. I would play every.
Oh, that's why you need to but that's why you need to put the money in visual effects so that you can have yourself masked into the scene and we see multiple of you in the frame.
Good green screen and all that.
Yeah.
But okay, so there you go. There's our films.
Ooh,
wait,
also,
Cloud, you didn't say what film you would make.
Oh, if it's on a shoestring budget, I'd probably just make some realism shit about characters going through. Actually, no, murder mystery. Let's go with that.
Oh,
because that's a genre that works really well set in the real world with no weird supernatural stuff that would make filming harder. And so if you have a murder mystery, you're literally just the only visual effects you need are convincing blood for the dead person. And then the rest of it is just character drama and finding clues and doing detective work and shit. So I reckon that is probably it's still hard because making any movie is hard. But if you're on a shoestring budget, I reckon one of the more plausible, fun genres out there is murder mystery.
Good point, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I picked horror. Horror is very easy to do shoestring, as long as you're not making a monster movie.
Yeah, then you need the costume again. But yeah, after all, I got a juicy question on Twitter after all.
Okay.
From the Death Alchemist.
Okay.
I know that person.
What would you each say is an expert use of metaphor/symbolism that emotionally resonates with you, or you think is great in the context of the story? Okay, which story? But. So
I guess we pick something and we say what's the great metaphor in it or symbolism.
We pick a good metaphor or symbolism that either emotionally resonates or works great.
Use of metaphor or symbolism.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, Cloud, you're up.
All right, fine. So, Confessions of the Fox by Jordi Rosenberg, because I cannot shut up about this novel. The main character, real figure from history, Jack Shepherd, is a jailbreaker. That's what he's famous for. He's famous for being a folk hero and a jailbreaker. And the main character decides to take that aspect of him being the jailbreaker and turn it into an LGBT narrative by making the character transgender. And then the bad guy of the story, and also the bad guy in history as well, Jonathan Wild, is the precursor to our modern police forces. So you've got a transgender jailbreaker versus the big daddy of police. And that is one of the best metaphors for the institutionalized violence of LGBT people by, the systems of society, including the institution of the police force. And the book uses that so well. Read the book. I made a review of it. I said it was one of my favorite books of all time. That's true. And I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm still thinking.
Sorry, do you need me to go long-winded to give you more time?
No, because the show is going on long enough. We can't. The thing is, it's not my favorite, but it's the one in recent memory. So I'm making that caveat. We're going back to Steven Universe Future because it's the only thing in my fucking memory right now. So there's a moment in Steven Universe Future where they have Steven basically project his thoughts onto White Diamond. That's one of White Diamond's abilities now. And he has these vengeful thoughts, and when he's in this mental state, he is this really big character. Meanwhile, Steven's voice is coming out of White Diamond and controlling the body, and he's saying, I don't like this, and the big Steven's too bad, and basically makes it like a puppet, makes White Diamond almost crush her head into a pillar. Her gem is on her head. If you shatter a gem, dead. and the baseline surface level thing is it's vengeful thoughts because White Diamond pulled out his gem in the first Steven Universe finale. But where the characters are placed and everything, like the big Steven is the White Diamond that's actually in real life. Everything is in a headspace at this point. And the small White Diamond that has Steven's voice is actually Steven. A lot of that can be interpreted as self-harming thoughts and like everything you put me through, because the one who actually gets his head hit against the pillar is Steven himself. So he's hurting himself, and basically with Steven saying, I don't like this, please stop, you're hurting me. And the big Steven is just looking down ambivalently going, too bad, I don't care. It's that kind of was like, okay. So we basically saw this version, this kind of self-harming visual. Oof, big old oof. I'm trying to be a little bit vague about it because it's part of the finale. It's not the finale, but it's one of the lead-ups. So, but yeah, so that's one in recent memory that I really enjoyed. But that's also a kind of symbolism thing that's very much you have to do it in the visual medium. I don't really have one of recent that's for written form. So sorry. But okay, Max, I stalled.
Yes, but I have the feeling it's still not enough. I am completely drawing a blank. I blame the fact that it's 2:30 a.m. for me. I mean, I dug this hole myself by asking this question or reading out this question. No, I can't come up with, I'm sorry. I'm like,
well, there you go. Come back next week,
exactly.
Ask the question and say, only for Max. You can do that. Cloud, I'll remind you on Twitter for you to ask the question on Twitter, just so we can punish him. How dare you not be fully awake and aware at 2:30 in the morning?
I know.
I'll be here every week with questions that are increasingly difficult for Max to answer.
This is not as hard as you think.
You're giving him English homework, just literature. Okay, so anyways, this is our final question. This is a little segment we do every week that we have not put in our How to Awkward video yet. We need to do that. Oh, no, Enigma actually had another question. So we have one more question, then our final segment. This one's an easy one. What anime or cartoon or fictional hairstyle would you be able to pull off with your hair that you currently have, and what color would it be? I already have anime hair, so I don't know what I would do. All I really need to do is get some hair gel and I could do whatever I want with it. And it's already multicolored, so I'm already an anime protagonist.
I can tell you what I cannot do. The hairstyle of my own Sona, because my hair is too thin, my forehead is too big by now, and the fucking
hair does not hold on to pigment.
Yep,
your hair does not hold on to pigment.
The color, I tried it twice by now with different methods, and the color. Okay, I have never tried fully committing, like bleaching it and then putting blue in, but I mean, then again, I'm in quarantine right now. I guess I could do it now.
There's no better time to style your hair.
It's true.
There's no better time. But oh god,
true.
I don't.
Shit.
No.
You just have to find a hairdresser's that's still open.
No, just order some hair bleach and dye. I mean, I do this myself.
Yeah,
what's the worst that can happen? I mean,
Denim knows how to dye hair, so she does it.
I know. No, the thing is, I'm a little bit worried about yours. Your hair is really thin, and if you have that bleach in for even a little bit too long, you can have massive hair loss. I lose hair when I bleach my hair. Like, my hair sheds, but luckily my hair is really thick. So, for your sake, but your hair is blonde enough that you probably could just do it basically like that. The shade would just be darker, but don't bleach it. I don't trust your hair. I know your hair type. Your hair type will not agree with bleach well unless you get it done by a professional. That's advice coming from me. I say this with care in my heart. I like seeing you suffer, but not like that. Otherwise, the anime hairstyle you'll get is One Punch Man.
That one would probably work.
Yeah. Anyways, but I don't know how much hair Cloud has on his head.
I've been growing my hair out. So I have very thick, very oily hair, like so oily that even if I wash even if I wash it thoroughly with shampoo, it's still a little bit oily. And so my hair is actually really, really easy to sculpt. And I'm also growing it out, and it's getting rather thick and long. It's not like down to my shoulders or anything, but I was thinking that
didn't happen. Wait,
yeah, I was thinking of styling it at some point afterwards, but I reckon, because I used to have a ponytail when I was a teenager, and it came down to my waist. So I can do, I'm pretty sure I could pull off pretty much any anime cartoon hairstyle, but one that I was eyeing was, and I'm stretching the definition of cartoon here. But I reckon I could pull off Geralt of Rivia's hairstyle.
Oh,
you could.
I reckon I could do it.
You could. Oh man, that could work. Also, I know your pain. Of thick, oily hair. Hooray for being Italian! If I don't wash this hair for like 2 days, all I would need to do is twist this, and this stands upright. I can have pebbles.
I believe that is an anime hairstyle. That's like Tristan from Yu-Gi-Oh or some shit.
Basically, but yes, now we're at our final segment. So from enigmatic magic straight. If I know Cloud Cuckoo well enough, he likes books, and lots of books, and has interesting characters and worlds and plots. So let's get some reading done with a little plot line called Fuck, Marry, Kill, Literacy and Literature Edition.
Oh my god. I hate this game. I hate anything that originated in like the after dark party scene where you have to be drunk to enjoy it. Like every time I hear club music on the radio, I die a little inside. I'm like, I have to be drunk and like grinding up against people to enjoy this. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, but fuck, marry, kill, literacy and literature.
Okay.
And these are books. These are not the characters in the books.
I have to fuck, marry, kill the books.
Or the personification of the book.
I will say, contrary to popular belief, I have not actually had sex with a book. I'll just put that rumor to bed right now. There's no book with a hole in it.
Oh
God, that would actually be so painful.
That would just be paper cuts.
I just want to say multiple paper cuts.
Okay, anyways, that is ribbed for no one's pleasure. Anyways, Dante's Inferno, Sherlock Holmes, and Robin Hood and his merry men. Let's all cuddle up and get a good book in our arms and really get into that reading mood. I do love me a climactic conclusion after all, and I'm sure you will all reach those soon. Enigma, I will cough on you. Anyways, so our special guest, who we really appreciate, is here. That we changed the time of the podcast to have him here. You first, Cloud.
Or should we show him how it's done?
Dante's Inferno, Sherlock Holmes, and Robin
Hood and his merry men.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say I have attempted reading Dante's Inferno, and I have read a few Sherlock Holmes stories, which I actually don't like. I'm one of the few people on Earth who doesn't like the Sherlock Holmes books. And as for Robin Hood and his merry men, I have no idea. So I guess I would have to say I'd marry the Sherlock Holmes novels because even though I don't like them very much, they make bank. They make money off those.
Oh no! He did
the gold digger answer. Hooray!
Which is usually keyframes. Okay, continue.
And I guess because I've never read Robin Hood and his merry men, there's sort of an alluring unknown factor there, so I'd probably fuck that one. And then
merry men there.
And then Dante's Inferno, I think I can do without, so I would kill that one.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
The world's first recorded instance of self-insert fan fiction. That one.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very masochistic. situation.
Dante is like, oh yeah, when I go to hell, I would totally be BFFs with Virgil.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. He'd be like, oh, Dante, yo, my homie, what's up? Let me show you around my crib.
I want Cloud to rewrite Dante's Inferno like this. The lit edition.
I got 9 floors on my crib. Let me take you to each one. There's a different party going on at each level of my crib. It's Saturday night and I'm feeling right.
The Bogan edition, everyone's. Oh god. Anyways, Max, your turn.
Yes, from the man who actually knows what he is talking about to the man who has heard all 3 titles before, haven't even touched a single one of said books, has a vague idea about the content of each of those. I mean, I saw some of the iterations of Robin Hood.
Didn't we all?
Yeah, from Disney over Kevin Costner. Oh, and
Harry always is the best one.
And this absolutely awful British TV show, which, oh god, I'm just tempted to kill Robin Hood simply for this TV show that existed. Oh, it was. Not now.
Get back to the point. It's 2:30 in the morning.
It's true. Okay, what do I do with them? Okay. I'm trying to find a different answer than Cloud did.
What brings up, but none of these are the real names of the books. Shut up, Bodhi. Well, who are you? My English teacher?
Yeah, no, Dante's Inferno was actually called the Divine Comedy. Sherlock Holmes is a series of books and not like one book. And Robin Hood and His Merry Men, I'm pretty sure that was actually just a fable.
It's folklore that then it got adapted into a number of different stories.
Semantics. Point is, we're fucking
all,
and married.
Yeah, exactly. We all know what it is really about. So, I would go with I would fuck Dante's Inferno. Because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There is at least one circle of hell for the lustful, I assume. So
there is actually.
But isn't it a circle of hell? So
I mean,
it is. One of the circles is lust.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you're still in hell.
I mean, as Cloud explained before, Dante's Inferno is basically about having a cool visit through it and basically passing by all those lost souls who actually suffer. So I'm up for watching other people suffer and having a good time myself. So
you're a sadist. He's a sadist.
Oh no, that's a surprise to no one in the world. That is the most underwhelming news since cats meow and the Pope is Catholic. Like
so
okay, so the
Sherlock
other two.
Holmes.
Yeah.
Potentially dies at the end anyway, so killing him will not hurt anybody, so I kill Sherlock Holmes, and I'm not just doing this to have definitely a different answer from Cloud.
You're marrying Robin Hood.
And his merry men. I mean, come on. They are pretty merry. So,
the polyamorous relationship. Oh, why didn't I think of that?
A polyamorous gay relationship. Totally what everybody would expect from me.
Perfect for the straight man. Okay.
No, but I mean, like, they roam around the forest looking for fights. They're men.
Mary. Well, hey, and if Robin Hood marries Maid Marian, and it's a whole big poly thing, you can get Maid Marian.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing, though. So either I am going to become rich, then when I have them on my side, they are not going to rob me and give it to somebody else. And if I'm not rich and they go out there and steal money from the rich, they give it to me, at least partially, before they then distribute the rest to the other poor people. So it's basically like an insurance. I am becoming part of the family. Keyframe, your answer.
How do I follow up that? Okay, so I'm gonna fuck Sherlock Holmes.
Because nobody has so far.
Well, no, not because nobody has so far. I'm fucking Sherlock.
Because you feel sorry for him. It's pity sex.
Yeah, pretty much. If you've ever looked at the Sherlock Holmes series.
No, I know why. Because at
Why?
some point he was played by by Robert Downey Jr. and you hope that you get this version.
No, the furry in me wants the Basil on Baker Street version. I mean, that was one of my first childhood crushes, so...
Sincerely.
Sincerely!
That's a less embarrassing childhood crush than mine. Mine was Tiny the Tiger from Crash Bandicoot.
Look, my first childhood crushes were Basil of Baker Street and Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Gadget
nothing...
Gadget from Rescue Rangers. We are fucking furries.
Yay! I mean, Shaggy's just Shaggy. But he's friends with a dog, so. And eats dog treats. He might as well be a dog. So, yeah, I'm going to fuck Sherlock Holmes. Because, pity sex, the possibility of which Sherlock Holmes we're talking about. And, he's a man of mystery. So he could solve the mystery that is female pleasure. I'm going to kill Dante's Inferno because, nothing wrong with killing...
my dear Watson.
Yeah, my dear Keyframe. We're going to kill Dante's Inferno because there's nothing wrong with killing fan fiction. So, killing that self-indulgent fuck. And then I'm going to marry Robin Hood and his merry men because... What was the thing I said about my computer screens earlier? I need two. So, I guess it works. So if I'm getting annoyed with one of them, I'll just go to the other merry men. And when Little John annoys me, I can go to the other one and then the other one. I have somewhere to go to if one is pissing me off. And then when I get done being pissed off, I can go to that one. It's a nice cycle. It's like having one of those CD players that you can put multiple discs in and just press the,
Polyamorous duck, duck, goose.
Duck, 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 fox. Aha. But, so I guess that's my answer. It's not as, we should have had Max be last. His was the more awkward answer. But wait.
But I mean, you know what really is the awkward part here?
What?
That even with your suggestion of having this recycling polyamorous relationship with all those British imaginary folk heroes, that nobody in this call finds it awkward.
A and Y and Key say hi to the people in the chat. The memes are seen on this live stream as they talk about random grabs. Time for awkward gags. It's the awkward. Random guests and funny gags on the awkward gags. It's the awkward. Artwork and analysis which you do not want to miss.